There is a goddamn fire sale going on in New York right now. The Jets in the last hour have traded away Sauce Gardner to the Indianapolis Colts for 2 first-round picks and A.D. Mitchell. And they've also traded away Quinnen Williams to the Cowboys for a second this year and a 2027 first-round pick. The impact this has on the NFL draft, obviously, is absolutely massive. The Jets now have 2 firsts and 2 seconds in this year's NFL draft and 3 first-round picks. 3 in 2027. They have hit that rebuild button big time and then some. And it makes sense for the Jets. They need a quarterback. They need to invest in that young quarterback, invest in talent around him to make sure they become a competitive team again. The Colts now don't have a first round pick in this year's NFL draft, but considering they are the 1 seed currently in the NFC, they're not really going to care about that. They now have a lockdown cornerback 1 when they were previously trotting out Xavier Howard. Yes, that Xavier Howard at cornerback. And this they hope, it will take them from a playoff contender to a Super Bowl contender. Meanwhile, the Cowboys still have both of their first-round picks this year after the Micah Parsons trade early in the year, but they lost the second first-round pick in 2027. I like it for the Cowboys, for Quinnen Williams, who is a great defensive tackle still. He's only 27 years old. He's anti-aging. I don't know how he's still that young. And he will greatly improve a very, very leaky defense, to say the least, both against the run and the pass. And it frees them up maybe to go in a different direction in this NFL draft. So I'm going to do a mock draft now. With all of this craziness going on, I am absolutely praying that Garrett Wilson doesn't get traded for the Chiefs' first-round pick or something. In fact, I'm going to check just before we go because I think Breece Hall will be traded. Jermaine Johnson could be traded, but I'm hoping those guys aren't 4 first-rounders. Shouldn't change too much. If so, this is my second time already recording this because of the news for the Quinnen Williams trade. So hopefully not. If something does happen, please bear with me. It is almost 9 o'clock now in the UK. For me to get this uploaded and edited and posted in time is going to be late anyway. Can't stay up all night, unfortunately. But I am going to do a full mock draft now with all of this craziness going on, with the team needs changing, with the draft picks changing. It's going to be a full mock draft, all 32 picks. The Jets will have 2 picks. The Cowboys will have 2 picks. The Rams will have 2 picks. And before I get into it, make sure you like and comment. It's a free and easy way to help the channel. It pushes out this video to other NFL draft fans. And this is what I do best here on this channel. Mock drafts, team needs, best fits for the NFL draft, sleepers, positional rankings, you name it. It's all going to be on this channel and more. So make sure you subscribe as well to not miss out on any of those upcoming videos. But let's get started then with this first full mock draft I'm doing. And what a time to be doing it. Genuinely, one last check of the socials just to make sure that nothing crazy is happening again. Okay, I dare I say I think we're going to be okay. Famous last words. So the Saints, with the first overall pick here, they're going to go with Ruben Bain Jr., the edge rusher from Miami. He's got 44 pressures and 4 sacks. In my opinion, it's close now, but he still is the best non-quarterback in this draft class. He's the type of edge rusher that if you don't account for him offensively, he is going to ruin your game plan. He did so against Notre Dame. Louisville had to completely change how they were going to play their offense with Ruben Bain accounted for. They got the ball to their playmakers quickly. Notre Dame, on the other hand, had to do that mid-game. They could only throw screens because Ruben Bain Jr. was beating their offensive line like a drum. Got this unbelievable chop move, which he timed so well. He's powerful, he's quick, he's explosive. He is the Aiden Hutchinson, I would say, of this draft class. Not a Myles Garrett level prospect, but kind of that next tier below. And in a weaker draft class, as we've seen with Aiden Hutchinson recently getting paid $180 million, and he went second overall, I think it's very clear to assume that Ruben Bain Jr. is in contention for that first overall pick. At 2, though, the Titans, I'm going to have a massive, massive riser at 2 now. And he's someone that is contending with Ruben Bain Jr. for the best player, best non-quarterback at least, in this draft class. And that is Arvell Reese, the linebacker from Ohio State. He has insane strength, absolutely insane. Almost Jared Verse-esque. He's 6'4", 243 pounds. He is that off-ball linebacker converted to an edge, insanely athletic, producing at a really high level at a position he's only really played only 50% of the time this year. He's not even full-time edge. Stop me if you've heard that kind of profile before, right? And we're all thinking of the same two players. We're all thinking of Abdul Carter and we're all thinking of Micah Parsons. And whilst he breaks the mold in the sense that he doesn't play for Penn State, he plays for Ohio State, it is eerily similar. Freakish athlete, moving positions from off-ball linebacker, great pass rusher, great blitzer. I personally am drafting him at 2, not to play him at off-ball linebacker, but obviously to play him as essentially a full-time edge rusher. I think it's useful to drop him into coverage every now and then to kind of keep the quarterback and the offense on their toes. But I would play Arvell Reese full-time at edge because that power that he has is legit. He can continually, every week in, week out, this guy is moving, and I mean moving, 300 plus pound offensive lineman with genuine ease. That kind of power profile I learned the hard way from being a bit lower on Jared Verse is legit, man. That speed, the athleticism, the power, it's all there. Second overall is not rich, even though it does say linebacker. At 3, the Jets with their first of 5 first-round picks in the next 2 years. Oh my God. Now, there is something to be said for future scouting here. The 2027 NFL draft class, I know it's always hard to look into the future. I would have said the same about this year's draft class this time last year, right, with all the quarterbacks. Things can massively change. You don't really want to necessarily forego a player at a certain position because you think it might be stronger next year. Injuries happen, regression in play happens, but there is something to be said for the Jets not drafting a quarterback this year and maybe trying to get someone like a Julian Sayin next year. I, though, in this exercise, I'm not going to do that because that takes all the fun away from me. And I also think it is worth saying again that, look how this year's quarterback class panned out. We had, preseason, we had Garrett Nussmeier. Before the season started, we had Garrett Nussmeier. We had Cade Klubnik. We had Drew Aller. We had John Mateer. All of these guys that were like, it's Lenora Sellers. Those are 5 guys that were in and around the first round. I don't think any of those guys will go in the first round. Comfortably, at least 4 of them won't, I would say. And most of them won't declare if they could get away with it. So a lot of things can change. I think the Jets might be a bit silly to bank on Julian Sayin, say, not getting injured or playing as well as he is currently playing. It's a bit messy, I think, to wait. So I'm going to take my current QB1, and that is Ty Simpson from Alabama. He's my second-ranked player on my big board. He is just so smart. He's only a 1-year starter, and I'm always a little bit wary of 1-year starters, but he's been at Alabama for 4 years. So yes, he's only got 1 year of playing time, but I kind of think of it like 1.5 years essentially of experience, kind of just understanding the offense, getting those reps in training. It's not as valuable as the real thing, of course, but I think being on the bench for 3 years does, by osmosis, you do just get a feeling and an understanding of the game, at least in some way. Not quite starting, but it's the next best thing. And you can see that kind of veteran ability that he has. He's able to read defenses pre-snap and kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Stop them from doing what they want to do, kind of nerf them, nullify, that's the word, nullify what they want to do before they've even done it. He can see a blitzer coming unblocked off the edge. He changes the protection. He can see the defense is doing something funky with an overload front. He calls in the tight end and gives him a little hand signal to show him who he's blocking and what to do. He's that level of quarterback. And what I've realized from these, crazy athletes and these very raw prospects is that really, you need to have a good head on your shoulders. You need to understand the game. You need to be able to make the regular throws. Yeah, the deep ball is fantastic, but that's only 3, maybe 2 completions a game, if that. You've got to be able to nullify the blitz, see it coming, adapt, play, go out of structure, set your feet, hit the open receiver. It is the simple, quote unquote, because it's nothing simple in the NFL, but it's the simple stuff that is important. For me, Ty Simpson ticks all of those boxes, and he is partially why Alabama have won so many big games. They played so many ranked opponents, one of the best teams in the country, and that is in no small way thanks to Ty Simpson. At 4, the Dolphins. I'm going to also take a quarterback here. I know it's tricky with Tua and the amount of money that you owe him, but I'm the GM. We're going to find the money down the back of the sofa. We're going to do whatever the hell we can because this team has a lot of flaws, but I think the biggest flaw right now is the quarterback. Yes, the offensive line's not playing well. Yes, you need another wide receiver, but really what this comes down to is the fact that Tua has not been a good enough quarterback for you for years. So yes, there's holes on this roster as a whole. Quarterback is such a glaring one that I think we're going to have to address it here. And Fernando Mendoza is my QB2. And it's a very close race between him and Ty Simpson for what it's worth. But is there something to be said for Oregon's Dante Moore here, who is also in my top 10 on my big board. He's my 9th ranked player. And I kind of can't help but feel the Dolphins might want the anti-Tua. Fernando Mendoza is not Tua in the sense that he's as small or quite as, Fernando Mendoza is 6'5", 225 pounds. Like he is not Tua in that regard, but he's not a great athlete. He doesn't have, insane arm strength. Do you kind of want to go back to that style of quarterback? Again, then it's not like for like a tool. But is it too similar for you? Is there some kind of PTSD there for the Dolphins? I certainly have a bit of it. I have Fernando Mendoza ranked higher. I think that Dante Moore could be almost have a higher ceiling but a lower floor at this rate. Fernando Mendoza is the more sure thing. I'm trying to talk myself into a pick here. Fernando Mendoza is the more sure thing. Dante Moore is the higher floor, has the higher ceiling. Let's go with Dante Moore. I think that the PTSD is going to creep in a little bit. It would with me, and I'm a neutral in this regard. And Dante Moore is my 9th ranked player on my big board. He is still a very good quarterback. It's him, it's Simpson, it's Mendoza. Those guys are the 3 players that are in contention for the QB1. And I think all 3 of those guys will declare. And I think all 3 of those guys will be drafted with top 10 picks, top 5 maybe even. The reason why I took Dante Moore is because he has that QB1 aura that I think Tua definitely wasn't having. He won at Penn State away during the whiteout at Happy Valley. I know Penn State imploded, but at the time, that was still a legit win. And when Oregon wanted to get the ball down the field and they wanted to have plays be made, they turned to Dante Moore. Dan Lanning trusted him, the offense trusted him, and he got the job done. He's also 6'3", 206 pounds. I think he could play at 225. He's only 20 years old. He has 16 big-time throws. That's a 7.5% big-time throw rate. He is just the anti-Tua, or the closest thing to it, at least. Lenora Sellers would be the anti-Tua, but we'll talk more about him later, maybe. The Giants at 5. Not a year to need offensive line help. And that goes for the Titans as well. If you're looking for a star offensive tackle, you're going to struggle to find one in this draft. Not Fernando Mendoza. Caleb Lomu, Spencer Fano, is the closest thing to that offensive tackle one. But man, I think 5 is still a bit rich for him here. So I'm going to go with Caleb Downs. I know it's a safety. I know the positional value isn't quite there for a safety. But Caleb Downs is the smartest player, or at least the smartest non-quarterback in this draft class. He, a bit like a quarterback for the defense, can read the offense and know what they're going to do before they even do it. Against the first game of the season against Texas, he would, at the line of scrimmage, change his body language. He'd see that Arch Manning would read his body language, and basically he'd open his shoulder to act like he's going to go and cover the deep half of the field. Arch Manning saw that, went, okay, I'm not even going to look to that half of the field because I'm not even going to try and test Caleb Downs. Well, Caleb Downs wasn't actually bailing to the deep half. He was covering the curl flat. And that's the kind of player he is. He knew that Arch Manning would see his body language. He knew that would basically obliterate half of the field from his vision. And that's the kind of guy that you're getting. Yes, the Giants have a great defensive line, but they don't have the secondary to keep up and kind of justify having such a great defensive line. They're getting torn apart in the secondary right now. And Caleb Downs is not a cornerback, no, but he is a fantastic safety who can offer you run defense, he can offer you pass defense. He is just that field general at the safety position. He's so damn good. I think he's worth a top 5 pick, just at number 5. The Browns. What are we going to do with the Browns? This team is in complete disarray. And I think that to draft a quarterback here would be to condemn that quarterback to being a bust, honestly. Dylan Gabriel is not it. This team has been searching for a quarterback for genuinely my lifetime, it feels like. And I think it would be malpractice to draft a quarterback and put them behind this offensive line with this wide receiver core. It is just simply not good enough. And the Browns can just draft a quarterback next year. They're not going to compete this year anyway. Don't just put a quarterback in a broken system. I know that the Dolphins also have a bad team. It is nowhere near as bad in my mind, or at least the offensive line and the offense isn't as bad. I'm going to take Spencer Fano here. It is a little bit early, but the Browns are not in a position to pass up what is the best tackle in this draft class with an absolute bullet. This whole tackle class have taken their licks this year, but Spencer Fano is clearly the best. He had a great game against Cincinnati this weekend. He looked like the OT1 he promised to be in the preseason. Fano is like 13th, I think, on my big board off the top of my head. He's 14th, so a little bit of a reach, but man, the Browns have got to build this thing from the ground up, and that has to start with the offensive line. The Raiders. I'm not going to draft a quarterback for them. They have Geno Smith. I know people don't like him. I know people doubt him. And he hasn't played well. There's no way of cutting that, right? He hasn't. But they just got him. I don't know what the contract is off the top of my head. I don't think it's a 1 year. It'd be a bit crazy if it was. But I think they should stick with Geno Smith. I think they need to invest in the rest of the team. And I'm going to take Peter Woods here, the defensive tackle from Clemson. Now, Peter Woods is a player that I'm a bit wary of considering how his season and how, indeed, the entire Clemson season has gone. It has been an awful season for him, an awful season for Clemson. He's only had 3 sacks this year. He's had 3 sacks and he's had 11 pressures. Considering that in 2024 and 2023, so the 2 years before this season, he had 20 pressures in both years, that is a down year and then some for Peter Woods. Now, the reason why I'm still drafting him this highly is because he was my number 1 ranked player going into this year. And yes, there's rightly been a bit of a knock there. Other players have played better. But that talent has to be in there. He had the craziest rep against Texas last year where he was splitting a double team by stiff-arming 2 Texas offensive linemen. That talent doesn't just go away. So I'm going to take Peter Woods. He's going to shore up the interior of that defensive line and make the Raiders a better team, hopefully, because they've been very disappointing this year. The Cardinals. Now, this is interesting. I think it's the end of the road for Kyler Murray in Arizona. The fact that this team is playing better with Jacoby Brissett shows you that he's not really the guy. And I don't think this team can really look themselves in the mirror and argue that after the last few games. So Jacoby Brissett has kept the offense on time. He's got the ball to the playmakers, and the offense is looking so much better. And you know why? That's because, as I was saying earlier, as a quarterback, the most important things are getting the balls to your playmakers, not turning the ball over, hitting the open receiver, reading the field properly, avoiding sacks. And look, Fernando Mendoza is not the athlete that Kyler Murray is, of course, but I trust Fernando Mendoza, like Jacoby Brissett, that kind of a very similar style of quarterback, dare I say, those two. He can get the ball out on time. He can hit Marvin Harrison Jr. He can hit Trey McBride. He can hit Michael Wilson. That's what this offense needs. I really have supported Kyler. I'm a big Kyler believer, but I'm coming to the end of the road, at least with him at Arizona. He needs a new situation. The Cardinals need a new guy. They're going to draft Fernando Mendoza, potentially QB1 in this draft to move on from Kyler Murray. The Bengals at 9, man, this team is in a real predicament. I don't feel good about taking TJ Parker at 9, I feel, but then I also don't feel good about taking, say, Francis Mauigoa, the next best. And I think he's a guard. I think Francis Mauigoa is a guard. Are you going to draft a non-Quentin Nelson a guard prospect at 9 overall? I don't think so, but then you also need an edge defender. And you've got TJ Parker, who I don't really trust. He's the 20th ranked player on my big board. Keldrick Falk's more of an interior guy. David Bailey's good, but he's more of a designated pass rusher. Got R. Mason. See, that is really ugly. I think the Bengals just simply have to, with how Joe Burrow's gone, they have to draft Francis Mauigoa. I think he's a very high floor kind of player. He plays, at a very high level, very consistently, but he's just not really that guy. I think he benefits massively from being in this weaker offensive tackle class. I don't think he's going to be a tackle at the next level. He could give you that, but look, I think he'll be a good guard. But man, to draft a good guard at 9 is when the defense is as bad as it is. But you just can't let Joe Burrow get injured again. You just cannot. I think if they could trade away T. Higgins, Jordan Tyson would be on the board. That would be a really nice pick. But right now, that is hideous. But that's what the team deserves. Bad pick, I know, but they don't really have another choice. The Commanders, they're just not going to make the playoffs. Jaden Daniels is out injured, unfortunately, with a non-throwing arm injury, but it's not going to happen again for the Commanders. They caught lightning in a bottle last year, and they've not been able to replicate it because I think they're just not a talented enough team, really. I think the lack of talent for really the whole roster is what has been the issue this year. It's not like anything's happened. They're just not as good as other teams. So I'm going to go. They've already got Terry McLaurin, so I'm going to go with the number 1 receiver on my big board, and that is Makai Lemon. He's my 4th ranked player on my big board because he's the best draft eligible receiver. He's 5'11", 195 pounds, and he's not one of those freak athletes who's going to be 6'5" and really strong and bench 20 at the combine. But I think he's going to perfectly embody what it means to be an NFL wide receiver currently, which is, you look at guys like Amon-Ra, you look at guys like JSN. It's often guys that, even someone like Justin Jefferson, dare I say, these guys don't run a 4.3. They are not 6'4", 225 pounds. They are guys that can get open. They use their route running savviness. They have agility. They've got strong hands. They play above their weight. And Mekhi Lemon, despite being smaller than all of those guys, don't get me wrong, has those traits. And I think that he will pair really nicely with Scary Terry, pair really nicely with Jaden Daniels. And that agility and that speed is definitely going to translate, I think. That leaves, though, the Ravens at 11 to draft my next receiver on my big board. Fitting they go at 10 and 11, respectively, is Jordan Tyson, my 5th-ranked player. He's grown on me a lot. He's 6'2", 210 pounds. He's got brilliant movement skills, man. This guy just knows how to separate. He knows how to get open. He's had 4 100-yard games. He's got 628 yards on the season so far, and he's really improved after the catch. He's put weight on. He's got circus catch ability. He can go up and get it, and I think he pairs really nicely with Zay Flowers. And that's what I look for in wide receivers, in wide receiver rooms, is a differentiation of skill sets, is what I call it. And I think that with Tyson, and both Lemon and Tyson, by the way, are wide receiver 1Bs. They are not a Jamar Chase in the sense that you draft him 5th overall, you plug him and play right away as that bona fide wide receiver 1. That doesn't exist in this class, but it's a very good wide receiver class that has a lot of depth. It just lacks that truly elite guy. I don't think either of these guys are better than Ted McMillan, for example, last year, but I think they are that next tier down. Well worth it. Again, in a slightly weaker draft class. The Rams with their first of 2 picks this year. And I'm going to go here with Mansour Delane, my number 1 ranked healthy cornerback, the best healthy cornerback draft prospect in this year's NFL draft. He is just kind of your prototypical man coverage cornerback 1. I think he's looked almost flawless in that role. He's only allowed 8 catches from 25 targets for 100 yards, 7 pass breakups, 1 interception. And he's looked really good. It's a bit up and down. That's the nature of cornerback, especially when you're playing for LSU, a team that is at the very least up and down. And he doesn't have top elite. He's not an elite athlete, doesn't have a fantastic top speed, but as a corner, it's about, never being wrong. It's about making sure that you're always in your receiver's hip pocket. It's about being sticky and annoying, and Mansour Delane is that. The Texans, man, ugly. I'm a Texans fan, and we're cooked. We are absolutely cooked. Do I want to draft Jeremiah Love? Yes, I'd absolutely love to. Can I in good conscience? Absolutely bloody not, because our offensive line is genuinely abysmal. And I'm looking at these guys, and I kind of want to burst into tears, if I'm being honest with you. Caden Proctor is the type of offensive lineman that I just don't like. I don't like those mauling behemoths. I like the dancing bear types, but there's no other tackle here. Caleb Lomu is not a first-round tackle. Jennings Dunker is not going to be a tackle. But I love Jennings Dunker. Caden Proctor, I'll talk about him when I draft him, because I'm not that high on Caden Proctor. We need an entire new offensive line, and I think one of the best offensive line prospects, almost a bit like Gray Zabel last year, is Jennings Dunker, and he can also play. He's a tackle. He's going to move inside. He's not going to play tackle, I don't think, but he's that Iowa guard. He's got that ginger mullet, ginger mustache, big, mauling Iowa farm boy kind of guy. I feel a lot better taking him, despite him being lower on my draft board than Caden Proctor, just because I don't like the style of offensive lineman that Caden Proctor is. So I'm going to take Jennings Dunker there. Is it a reach? Yes. Do I feel better about it than I would Proctor? Also, yes. The Cowboys with their first of still 2 first-round picks this year, but obviously they've lost 1 from next year. What are they going to do? What are they going to do? See, previously when I recorded this already, I had them going with a defensive lineman to shore up the run. They don't really need that with Quinnen Williams. They've already got Donovan Ezaraku. There's not really another strong pass rusher that is like a pass rusher 1 and an edge 1. So for them, because I think it makes sense because they've shown they want that type with their first round pick from last year. Indeed, his teammate. I'm going to take Caden Proctor to the Cowboys, just because, again, I think that's a better fit because the Cowboys have shown they want to run that kind of football. They drafted, I can't remember his name now, the guard from last year, but he was also an absolute unit. You pair them both together again, I think good things will happen. That makes more sense to me than the Texans. Or have I just whiffed it so that the Texans can't draft Caden Proctor? Who knows? The Vikings at 15. This is Yeah, this is going to be Jeremiah Love. This is going to be Jeremiah Love. It makes sense for the Vikings with where they are as a team. They've got Jordan Anderson. They've got Justin Jefferson. Obviously, JJ McCarthy is going to be the quarterback. They invested heavily in the offensive line this offseason, drafted Donovan Jackson last year. The defense is really good. I think that Jeremiah Love is what this, not, it's not the missing piece. I think that really they could kind of quietly do with an upgrade at tight end. But Jeremiah Love is a big upgrade at running back to a team that really has been lacking a dynamic running threat for as long as Kevin O'Connell's been there. And he is the prototypical NFL-ready 3-down back. He's my 11th ranked player. He's the clear-cut RB1 in this class, the only running back that I can really see with any realm of reality going in the first round. He's got 894 rush yards, 504 of them after contact, 227 rush yards. He's 6'4". He's got 6 foot, 215 pounds. He's got the size, he's got the speed, got the agility. Never seen a hurdle he doesn't like. Makes sense for the Vikings. The Panthers. Love that they are picking here, by the way. Absolutely love that. Good on them. What do the Panthers need? The offensive line is playing pretty well. I think this kind of has to be an edge defender. And I'm going to take a swing on TJ Parker here because I think TJ Parker gives the Panthers the closest thing to a potential like stud. I think there are a lot of really good players. I love David Bailey, for example. I think he's a fantastic pass rusher. But I think that TJ Parker has a higher ceiling in that regard that he can kind of, or at least he was my third ranked player going into the season because he was that prototypical potential first round draft pick at edge. You're getting him at a bit of a discount because he has had a pretty miserable season. As I've said, the whole of the Clemson team have. He's only had 21 pressures this year and 2 sacks, but last year he had 51 pressures and 12 sacks. That doesn't happen by luck. You do not stumble into 51 pressures and 12 sacks. Let's just put it that way. So I think the Panthers are in a position where they should probably try and take a bit of a swing here because it will massively improve their defense. At 17, the Chiefs. I love that they are picking right by the Panthers, by the way. That is just brilliant. We are all here for the Chiefs' downfall. And I'm looking, and you know what I'm going to do? I've had a devious thought cross my mind, and I think I'm going to make the Chiefs a better team again, despite what I want to do. I want to set this pick on fire so they can never get back to Super Bowl ever again. But I'm going to take Carnell Tate here, and if you think that's a bit early for Carnell Tate, then I guarantee you where are we now? We're in November. I guarantee you that by March, this guy will be in the top 15 of 90% of mock drafts because he is that kind of player. He is 12th on my big board, and I'm done sleeping on Ohio State wide receivers at this point. He is a legit vertical stretcher, a legit downfield target. He's 6'3", 200 pounds, 39 receptions, 711 yards, 7 touchdowns. He is getting 18.2 yards per reception. 18.2. That is 2 first downs almost. And you pair him with Patrick Mahomes. I know they've got the speed. I know they've got speed on their offense, but getting open vertically down the field isn't just speed. It's not just running quicker than the person in front of you. You've got to set the safety up like you would a cornerback at the line of scrimmage. And Carnell Tate just knows how to do that. And that is a nuanced skill that I think a lot of receivers don't have. And I think that Carnell Tate is almost a slept-on player, and he's not going to be for very long. He can make special catches. He is going to bring back the explosive element that the Chiefs have been looking for from their offense. For like 3-4 years now? The Bears, if Jeremiah Love were to fall past the Vikings, this is his floor. But what are the Bears going to do then? In defensive line, I'm going to take the best defensive lineman left on the board, and that is Keldrick Folk from Alabama. He is an absolute unit, a physical and athletic freak. He's 6'6", 285 pounds. He only has 2 pressures, but he does have 25 sacks. He's moved all over the place. He gets his, rolls up his sleeves and gets dirty in the run game. He's explosive. He's strong. He's raw. He's young, but he has the talent. And the Bears' defensive line, I think, would benefit massively from the potential that he brings. The Browns. Now, we have a conundrum on our hands here. We could draft Lenora Sellers. We could. And I have thought about it. I'd be lying to you if I said the thought hadn't crossed my mind. The reason, though, why I'm not going to do that is because we need to stay the line. Lenora Sellers is a quarterback who, at the moment, is purely traits. He's purely potential. And he has fantastic traits and fantastic potential. Genuinely some of the best I've ever seen. He is, He will rival Anthony Richardson for athleticism and arm strength and sack evasion ability and size and speed and athleticism, you name it. But he is just that at the moment. He is not a fully realized quarterback. And again, I don't think the Browns are in a position to take a raw prospect that they will try and quote unquote develop. That ain't going to work. That's going to be an absolute car crash. LaNorris Sellers will end up like Anthony Richardson and then some if you draft him to the Browns here with this pick. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to stay the course, and we're going to take another wide receiver. Well, not for the Browns, but another wide receiver in this draft class. Like I say, it's deep, it's strong, it's good. And we're going to take Denzel Boston. That is because he is the 6'4" kind of alpha outside wide receiver that the Browns are lacking. They are absolutely lacking that. And it's a little bit early for me with Denzel Boston. But I think that what he offers is greater than what he's shown basically so far. He's that outside guy, 6'4", 210 pounds. He's got 667 yards on the season, 7 touchdowns. And he's used obviously as that big bodied outside wide receiver, but his best games so far have come when he's been moved around the formation, used as that big slot, for example, used in the run game. And I think that, again, he's not a wide receiver 1A, could be a 1B, definitely a wide receiver 2. And I think Boston will be the pick when you eventually draft the quarterback that the Browns want. He will be the guy that's going to help that quarterback genuinely not drown, as is Spencer Fano. But it's going to take these guys a while, I think, a year to acclimatize to the league. Let's let that happen, then add the quarterback. If there's a quarterback later in the draft, guys, Garrett Nussmeier, Drew Aller, LaNorris Sellers maybe, all of these guys, in fact, let's just look at them now. All of these guys, John Mateer, Denny Hill-DeClaire, Maava, Will, Sorsby, don't think so. Drew Aller, he will. Carson Beck, he has to. You can get, Drew Aller might be a UDFA. You can take a swing on a previously very highly thought of quarterback, not in the first round. Use that on a premium position, use that on a more sure thing. That's my stance at least. The Steelers, they do need a quarterback. They do need a quarterback. But again, Sellers here, I don't think Sellers is really a first-round guy at all. And he's definitely not a guy that you're going to draft in the hopes that he kind of saves your year, basically. Because Aaron Rodgers is likely done after this year. What are they going to do? We're going to take Jeremy McCoy. They seem to always need a cornerback. They drafted Joey Porter Jr. They added Jalen Ramsey. This defense, apart from this game against the Colts this week, where they kind of refound their old form, has looked old and slow. And Jeremy McCoy is unhealthy at the moment. He has tore his ACL in the preseason, I believe. He was maybe going to come back, but Tennessee probably aren't going to be in the playoffs now, so I don't think he'd rush back to join the back end of the season. He will be healthy, obviously, for the draft and for the combine and for pro days, and he will also be healthy for the start of the season. And I think you get a bit of an injury discount here with Joe McCoy, who people had as their CB1 going into this year, and some people even still do now. The Lions. They need center, tackle, defensive interior, cornerback. That's not really where this board has fallen. I'm not big on Caleb Banks personally. I know he's a big name, but I don't think he's not a first rounder on my board. At least it would be a big reach at 21. I'm going to go with offensive line, and I'm going to go for. Forgive me, I cannot pronounce this guy's name. If anyone knows how to pronounce it, please let me know. I've searched high and low for footage of someone saying it, but because he's an offensive lineman, no one says the name. He goes by Vega. Ioane? I know you pronounce all those vowels in for Pacific Islanders. I don't know the pronunciation. I apologize. We'll take Vega. And that's because he, I think, perfectly embodies what the Lions have built themselves on over the last few years. And that is mauling, physical players that fit their identity. And Vega is 6'4", 328 pounds. With Connor Lew, the centre from Auburn, tearing his ACL, unfortunately, I think that Vega is the kind of potential interior offensive lineman one, at least one that doesn't moonlight as a tackle. And he's not allowed a sack since 2023. He's played all 3 interior offensive line positions, left guard, centre, right guard. He could play centre for this team. They could maybe move someone else into centre. I think he shore ups the interior, which the Lions have predicated their success on running the ball with Jahmyr Gibbs and Montgomery, protecting Jared Goff. And he fits that perfectly. And he's just the most Lions player ever, I think. At 22, the Chargers. Oh, man, what are we going to do with the Chargers here? They need edge. We're going to give them David Bailey, who, in my opinion, is the one of the better pure pass rushers in this draft class. He is so good in that mold that I think that even though he is potentially a designated pass rusher, I think getting him at 22 is fair value. I have him at 17 on my big board. He's 6'3", 250 pounds, 55 pressures, 12 sacks. He could end the season with, what, 15, 16, 17 sacks? Maybe like 65 pressures, 7 pressures? You don't get that by luck. Again, that production does not just come around because you stumble into a few cleanup sacks. David Bailey is absolutely legit. He was my 4th ranked edge going into this season. Lived up to that and then some. And the Chargers, I think, need some juice off the edge. They need that pass rushing help. The 49ers, good God, this team is riddled with injuries. Micah Williams, done for the season. Nick Bosa, done for the season. Fred Warner, done for the season. I feel like you kind of need to invest in the defense just because you don't know what you're going to get from those guys when they return back healthy, or really when they're going to return back healthy. Already, Brandon Ayuk hasn't yet come back from his injury that he sustained last year. So let's look then at the edge. Not ideal, hey? Cassius Howell has sub 31-inch arms, so I think he's gone from the first round conversation. I like R. Mason Thomas, but I think, if I'm checking my big board quickly, I think I have... Yeah, I've got Mateo Uiagalelei ranked ahead of him, so I'm going to draft him, the edge rusher from Oregon. He's 6'5", 270 pounds. He has a bit of kind of flexibility about where you play him. He's not just a designated pass rusher. He is good against the run, good against the pass, 25 pressures, 4 sacks, smooth and fluid. He is a larger pass rusher. He's got a really nice cross-chop move. You see that a lot on film. He's not a great athlete, but at this point, I think the 49ers just need bodies on the defensive line that they can play and rely on. And Michael Williams wasn't exactly showing that he was a potential star, so let's reinvest there and get a bit of security, basically, a bit of insurance. At 24, the Cowboys' second first-round pick, and I know exactly who I'm drafting here, and that is the linebacker from Georgia, CJ Allen. I know they just added Quillen Williams. I know that's going to massively help. But when you have a linebacker like CJ Allen behind him, who is so good against the run, he is so physical, and he's that prototypical middle linebacker. The Bulldogs' defense is not good this year. It is not the first-round draft factory that is churning out first-round draft picks on the defensive line and is getting after the opposing quarterbacks. That's not what the Bulldogs are about this year. They're not great on pass defense. They're fantastic on run defense because of CJ Allen. He has great sideline to sideline speed. He can chase down wide receivers on jet sweeps. He chased down, what's his name? DJ Lagway, the Florida quarterback, very athletic on a quarterback run the other week. He's that kind of player. And when you have Quinn Williams then blocking, eating up double teams, and you have CJ Allen then coming downhill as a blitzer maybe, or picking up run fits, that's going to completely revolutionize, completely change the Cowboys defense genuinely overnight. I know CJ Allen isn't joining the team right now, but if you were to pick him up from Georgia and put him in Dallas, I think it would change it overnight. The Bills. Oh man, the Bills need an outside wide receiver. And they need a defensive tackle that can stuff the run. And I'm torn here then between Dominique Orange. Sounds like it should be Orange when you say Dominique. But then also a wide receiver that can play outside. Do I go for the more sensible option, which is bolstering the defense? Or do I go for the more fun option, which is drafting a wide receiver? I've done it. I'm going with Chris Brazzell from Tennessee. He is the best, up there with Carnell Tate, the best deep ball wide receiver in this draft. Currently, he has 10 deep receptions. That is first among wide receivers. He has 385 deep receiving yards. That is first among wide receivers. He has 5 deep touchdowns. That is first among wide receivers. You put Chris Brazzell with his massive catch radius at 6'3", knows how to use it. He's a vertical field stretcher. You put that with Josh Allen, and you've opened up a new element of your offense. I would try and trade up for Dominique Orange in the second if he fell. Because they need a run-stuffing defensive tackle. You can get them later, so I think Chris Brazzell is probably the better shout. But man, with Josh Allen, suddenly Look, you got Khalil Shakir underneath, Dalton Kincaid as the tight end, got Chris Brazell running down the field vertically. It's a lot of things you got to be worried about as a defense. The Seahawks, what are they going to go with here? Center, guard, linebacker, cornerback. Who have we got left on the board? Again, Caleb Banks. I don't think I'm going to take him in this draft. Cassius Howell. I don't think I'm going to take him in this first round. Avion Terrell, I'm not big on. They kind of need an outside wide receiver. Not really one here, though. Not really one here. So then who am I going to go with instead? Maybe a linebacker. I do really like Sonny Styles, but do they already have that fit on their team? Anthony Hill this linebacker class is really good, by the way. Really good. Cornerback, I just don't trust. Let's see here. I don't trust Avion Terrell. AJ Harris hasn't played amazingly this year. Colton Hood. Yeah, all right. Let's go with Colton Hood to give this secondary a bit of help. I know they're not massive on Reek Willen. The Seahawks fans are split. 2 Tennessee players going back to back. Maybe I should have gone linebacker. Let me know, Seahawks fans. I worried that someone like Sonny Styles might clash with Ernest Jones's ability. Let me know. The Rams. Now. Hang on a minute. I know what I just said. But if there's anyone that can justify drafting LaNorris Sellers in the first round, it is the LA Rams, and for 2 reasons. Firstly, I think Matthew Stafford will play next year. He's playing at a fantastic level this year. He's not been injured. He's, at least up till now, fingers crossed, he's not been injured. He's playing some of the best ball of his career. I don't think he'll hang it up this year after the Rams are going to be a playoff team, and Matthew Stafford is playing at an all-time level for him, and he's played for so long. He's so good. The fact that this is one of his best seasons is something to appreciate. But secondly, and almost more importantly, they've got Sean McVay. Now, if you draft LaNorris Sellers, you have him 100% sit for a year behind Matthew Stafford. No one's going to be calling for LaNorris Sellers to start. He can sit there, he can learn, he can develop, and he can learn from Matthew Stafford, who is a very different style of quarterback, yes, but someone that has seen so many different things, is a real veteran of the game, one of the best quarterbacks of all time. And Sean McVay, one of the best offensive minds in the league. If anyone can change LaNorris Sellers from the bag of potential that he is now to the actual living, breathing, real quarterback that he has the potential to be, it is the LA Rams. So, and they got this is a draft pick on the house, right? Let's take LaNorris Sellers. I like that pick. Let me know if you would have taken him later, earlier, or not at all. The Broncos. I'm not a big Kenyon Sadiq guy, but this feels like a time where Kenyon Sadiq will go. I think that Kenyon Sadiq has maybe the best PR team in the nation, because everyone, or at least until a few weeks ago, everyone was talking about Kenyon Sadiq. Dane Brugler loves Kenyon Sadiq. All the draft guys love Kenyon Sadiq. He's got 331 yards on the season. He had 2 receptions for 6 yards against Wisconsin. Kenyon Sadiq he's the best tight end in this draft class 100%, a bit like Jeremiah Love. There's only one that's going to go in the first round with a bullet. But Kenyon Sadiq hasn't got the production. And when you look at the receivers, the tight ends that have gone recently, he's not a receiving threat like Brock Bowers. He is not an all-round offensive weapon like Tyler Warren. He is not a receiving threat like Colston Loveland. Those guys were all comfortably better than him. I do think, though, that there's always a receiving tight end that's taken in the back end of the first. Dalton Kincaid, for example. I just think, though, that if you're a good, not elite receiving threat and you offer nothing in the blocking game as an inline blocker, why would I draft you as a tight end in the first round at least? I think that's kind of what the Broncos offense is missing, though, is that tight end. They do have I said that when they've got, what's his face? The Giants drafted him years ago. Maybe I've fumbled that. Broncos fans, let me know. Would you have gone with someone else? The Buccaneers, they need a tight end. They got Cade Otton, though. This kind of has to be a defensive player, I feel. Who have we got left at linebacker? We've got Sonny Styles, who I do really like. I think he should be a first-round pick. Anthony Hill could be as well. Who have we got on the edge at this point? Let's take R. Mason Thomas. He's a first-round player for me on my big board. Where is he for me? In the 20s, I believe. He is, 26. He's 6'2", 250 pounds, 25 pressures, 5 sacks. He is relentless, punches above his weight, great speed, flashed Speed to power as well this year. He's explosive. I think he could be better as a run defender than he's given credit for. But I think he's mostly going to be a designated pass rusher. So I think that 29 feels fair for like a true designated pass rusher on a team that I think needs a bit of pass rush juice. I know they've got Vita Vea there as that evergreen run stuffing unit. And you put R. Mason Thomas on there, he gets one-on-ones. He's going to get you some production, I think. The Patriots at 30, Drake May. That's what I'm going to say. Drake May. What are these guys going to do? They could look to shore up the interior of their offensive line as well. Connor Lew, he's torn his ACL. Is he going to be healthy enough to be drafted in the first round? I don't know. Is there anyone we could move from tackle? No, not really, actually. Not really. So then what are we going to do with you? Edge, I don't like. I don't like Cashier. So these three guys, get away from me. LT Overton, can we do better than that? Who have I got left on my big board? I've drafted CJ Allen. They could go with a wide receiver. Diggs, Booties, breaking out. Probably not a need in the first round, let's say. I know who I'm going to go with. I'm going to go with my 32nd ranked player on my big board. And that is, where is he? Keith Abney. Now, PFF don't seem to like him. I do. I think he is that annoyingly present cornerback. He has such fluid hips. It really helps him get out of tight situations. He has good speed. He had one of the best playoff runs you'll ever see from a cornerback in the 2024 playoffs. He's not a top-tier athlete, not top-tier physicality, but when you're smooth and you're fluid and you're good and you're playing opposite Christian Gonzalez, you're going to be pretty good. The Eagles, what is Howie Roseman going to pull out of his... Well, what is Howie Roseman going to pull out? Because I'm looking at, are they going to take a wide receiver 3? I don't really love the offensive linemen that are on the board. I don't love the edges that are on the board. I don't love the cornerbacks that are on the board. So I'm going to follow my board, and I'm going to take who is my 15th ranked player. No, but that's Chris Bell, and he's kind of... I'm torn here. What I'm torn between is Casey Concepcion and Chris Bell. Both are are valid first rounders in my mind. Chris Bell is 6'2", 220 pounds, yards after the catch guy. Does he kind of overlap with AJ Brown? Only really as that big body. Casey Concepcion is more of that like dynamic slot receiver. I think that's what they're missing more than a yards after the catch guy. So we're going to go Casey Concepcion there to be a wide receiver 3. Crazy that the Eagles are taking that with the 31st overall pick, but that's where they're at as a team. Howie Roseman, you are the GOAT. And the Jets, with their second to finish us off, they started us with Ty Simpson and they're going to end us now. We then are going to profit off the Eagles and we are going to take Chris Bell, the wide receiver from Louisville. What's that, like the 6th receiver in the first round? Like I said, a deep wide receiver class. Chris Bell can be that dynamic yards after the catch threat that Ty Simpson's going to need. They have A.D. Mitchell there now as the other wide receiver. Those two guys together could show something because at the moment, the Jets wide receiver room is goddamn awful. You cannot leave it at just A.D. Mitchell, who I think is talented but very unproven, has not yet put it together. So you can see now on the board, my first full mock draft, I'm going to check right now. If I see that Garrett Wilson has been traded, I'm going to literally burst into tears. Please, God, no. We seem to be okay. Okay, we seem to be okay. Let's see if I can upload this and it stays that way. The Jets completely changed the outlook of this year's NFL draft and next year's NFL draft. I'm going to have all the draft content coming right at you this entire season and indeed off season. So make sure you like and subscribe to not miss out on a single one of my videos. But I've been the host, Dom Corbs. This has been Corbs NFL. I'll see you on the next video.